have very, very enterprising individuals with me in the latest episode of On VJ's Playlist. David Britto, Vernon Noronha, welcome. And before everything else, I must congratulate you guys for Wilderness. It's very, very emotionally charged. I mean, I'm still using the words here, emotionally charged, but I feel it's very contemplative and it sort of does a deep dive into, spaces that I don't think so. A lot of men also, in my opinion, like to, really tread down that path when it comes to being expressive with their emotions and thoughts and feelings. So congratulations on firstly exploring that side for your music and for giving us a very wholesome EP with Wilderness. Congratulations are in order.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijay.
I have to
And
begin
thanks for
by
having us on the podcast also.
that the pleasure is mine. In fact, actually, it's the second time I'm sitting down with David, at least, if not with Vernon. And unfortunately, I lost that interview. But it is, of course, after another year of, when David released his first ever EP, and now he's back with the second. So, David, between the two EPs, like if I have to first begin with you, what is the one outstanding similarity that you think lies with both the EPs? Yet, what is it about both the EPs that set them apart, in your opinion?
The similarity for sure would be being the primary songwriter. And what sets them apart is my luck to work with two fabulous artists, with Siddharth Basur with the previous EP and now with Vernon for this EP. So I think both of them have very distinct and different sounds. So that definitely sets the two EPs apart if you hear them back to back.
And actually, Vernon has always been a very, very significant contributor to your journey, especially as an artist. So, Vernon, if I can come to you, I want to ask you, for somebody like me, I mean, I've known David as, a fellow scribe. We have always discussed about music. We have always discussed about the scene. But when there is this side of David where he's also an artist under the moniker Arrows, what is it about his artistic pursuit that compelled you or compels you to always collaborate with David?
It's just that I know David personally, and it's just easy to work with somebody I know rather than somebody coming out of the blue and asking me to work with them. Then it becomes challenging because I don't know the person and how it's going to be like in future. So it's just a comfortable space, and how easy it is for me to chill with him and also do music. It just doesn't seem like work then.
I'll give you a little insight about Vernon. I mean, we go back years. In fact, before I knew him as a friend, I was a fan of his. He was a senior at our
What?
college at the time, at St. Andrews College, and
Oh, sweet.
we were just starting out playing in bands, and he was already playing like gigs and stuff. I remember he was playing at the time live at the console and all those big gigs, and we were like in awe of him. So we come to college, like, oh my God, Vernon is here. So like we go back years, and then of course his first EP, Closer to Home, like was it's a fantastic record front to back. So I've always wanted to work with Vernon, and in fact, he sang on the first Arrow song, Spaces, because he was the first person that came to mind when I thought I get guest vocalists to sing on my songs. And then since then, he's been coming along to play gigs and other stuff. So yeah, it's been great knowing Vernon for like over 10 years now. I think I know Vernon.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
I
God.
think
That's really long.
yeah. I remember getting the
Yeah.
first call from him through Rolling Stones, and I was on the bike on the way to the radio studio, I think, to meet Rishi. And then he is like, I'm Dave from Rolling Stones. Can I take your interview? I'm like, I'm on the road. Can we do this sometime else? Yeah, but I met him first at Ayan's studio, and he was doing his
Oh, yes.
album with the trip. Yeah, we were on the same.
Ayande, for those who, aren't familiar.
Yeah, and then we eventually did the first song with Ayan. So it came back full circle there. In 2018, Dave?
Yeah, we recorded in 18, released in 19 years.
But it's been interesting to see, David, how you have always been surrounded by very enterprising artists. not only are you a very good, I mean, you are like all of you are a tight-knit circle also to a certain extent. There's a, of course, a lot of chatter about music and influences, and these are mostly the people who end up you end up collaborating with, whether it is Vernon, whether it is Siddharth Basroor, uh, or whether it is Sachi, with whom you collaborated with in your previous EP. Does comfort often work in one's favor? Why I ask this is because I have, in my capacity as journalist, I've also posed this question a lot of times to actors and to other artists also, that can comfort also bring in a sense of complacency, in your opinion, because there is so much what to say, there is so much there is a certain sense of comfort to be found in familiarity sometimes, and most of the times I feel that it does happen that people don't end up challenging each other, especially when there's a collaboration there. So how does one ensure a sense of newness in such a situation?
I think when it comes to finish song within myself, then I already have an idea of what kind of direction I want to take it in when I'm heading into like production stage. So that helps in like choosing a vocalist that I think would best suit that song. So in my opinion, I've always tried to pick people who I think would be good on a particular song. Like for example, I have a song called Hello Cheater, which I wanted like a whole punk rock vibe to it. So that's why I decided to work with the Light Years Explode. So hence that song turned out the way I wanted it to turn out. And with Wilderness also, like Warren has this very cool acoustic folk touch that I wanted on this particular EP, and that's what he brought to the table. So I think in terms of just picking the right people, whether you know them or not, to answer your question, I don't think it has to affect like relationships don't have to affect the process of making it, but it helps when there's a comfort level, because then that person can be more themselves, I feel, also, even if they're trying something different, which may not sound nice or may work for the song. So there's advantages to that as well.
Yeah, one, would you like to add to that, since you just mentioned that knowing David somewhere helped, you being yourself in the process?
Yeah.
Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, and I think you spoke about getting newness to the project, getting newness to the album, and I think all of us as artists are trying to get to their sound, like get narrower and narrower and find one sound, right? Even for me now, since I'm playing all these years, newness, yeah, I'm trying to get into it, but not forcefully. If I'm finding jazz very exciting, then I'll probably put it in, but not on the cost of just getting newness out for the sake of getting newness out. So I'll not work with somebody who's very pushy with work. If it's for me, it's first comfort, and then the other things come in, because the sound is set now for me. Dave is also getting narrower. We know Dave's sound, where he's going towards. So, and he's approached me for a particular sound. So it's easier for me to work in that sense.
David, since we spoke about the similarity and the difference between both the EPs, Friends to Nice Strangers Again and now Wilderness, at least from my layperson understanding between both the EPs, while one has you acknowledging the equations that you share with different people around you, I think Wilderness is more about you looking within yourself. There's a certain sense of introspection that is involved. So when you are writing these songs, your mind space, of course, has evolved between both the EPs. But then what is that, one outstanding thing that you may have wanted to convey through Wilderness that may have not been communicated through your earlier work?
Yeah, with Wilderness, it's definitely stuck in one theme. With Friends Tonight, those songs were songs are written over the course of time, and they're not exactly connected to each other lyrically. But sonically, I think they are, because working with Basroor and that cohesion of sound happened. But yeah, with Wilderness, I made it a point to write these songs in this particular theme, which was family. And that's what I had to do. Ironically, the writing process for Wilderness happened while the recording process for Friends Night was going on. So in between those sessions, I finished these songs, and then I had stuff that happened in my personal life. My mom got sick, my grandma passed away, so like all these thoughts happened at the same time. So that's why I wanted to put together a record that sort of symbolizes these people in my life and have the I'm right about it. So that's exactly how Wilderness came about. So and I quite enjoyed working within a theme also. So that sort of gave me a challenge because I had not done that before. So it was nice to have these set of songs come together.
Looking at the four songs across the EP, there's 38, The Light, and also Wilderness, which is the title track, to mention a few. What was, if you could just take us through, the underlying thought within each song. I mean, of course, you have just spoken about it briefly now, but if you could just do a deep dive on what were the underlying thoughts for each song and how challenging were they to first begin with writing and then looking for the composition around it, and thirdly, which was the one which you thought that is very challenging to actually, for it to come to fruition. But when it finally did, it was very fulfilling for you as an artist.
So on the writing perspective, I wrote The Light first. That was it's a song about hope in general, and I wanted to dedicate it to a late uncle of mine who passed away in 2014. So that was that song. With Wilderness, the title track, that song is specifically about my grandmother. She and I had a very good relationship. So she passed away a couple of years ago. And Say to You, the last song on the EP is about for my parents, dedicated to my parents. So just saying thank you for bringing me up. And I was done with those three songs, and then I realized that streaming services consider three songs released as a single. So I needed a fourth song. So that's why I decided to include 38 on it, like the instrumental opener of the record. And instantly, it is also my house number, so that it felt fitting to have that included as an instrumental. So it sort of fit in that theme of home and family and everything.
That's
So in writing, those were how the songs came about. But I'll let Vernon answer the production question where you said which was the one that came toughest.
yeah.
I don't know if there was a tough one, but Vernon, what did you find anyone tough in when it came to production?
Production wise, I mean, obviously you left the ball in my court to play with it, and my style. So it was simple, but the challenging bit was, I think, Say to You, because it's not my kind of chord work and stuff like that. Even to remember how much time I took to like get the melody right also for that song. But I really enjoyed working on Wilderness because I was also thinking about my own grandmother. I went through all the feelings that Dave said about the EP because I've already gone through it. So it was like a personal feeling for me also to get into the EP. So yeah, I really loved working on Wilderness, and I was pushing Dave to put Wilderness forward, like before Light, like making that the highlight of the the EP and putting it as a single. Yeah, I love Light also. I think that's the first track we worked on, and Dave had to be really patient with me because I was not working on it week after week. For me, it is I work on it, then I take some time, then I get back to it when I feel like it. So he was really patient with me on that. So thanks for that, man. Yeah.
Coming to influences, David and Vernon, both of you may have had very, very diverse influences in music while growing up. So if you could throw light on, who are the artists and uh, what were they, I mean, and pick their works, that really proved to be, the guiding light in your journey, where that, from whose books you wanted to draw leaves, and, it's has sort of helped you, somewhere pursue your craft further.
That's going to be a very long list, but I can start off with
Yeah, I know.
I mean, for me, of course, it's the 90s grunge and metal bands, and then even your singer-songwriters through the 2000s, your John Mayers and Jason Mrazes. When you go back to the 60s, you have the Beatles. Then earlier also with the Jazz Revolution with Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald. Then of course India itself has so much of great music. But if I had to pick one song or an artist that defined what I thought for the sound of this EP it would be Tom Petty's song Wildflowers. I sort
Yeah.
of told Vernon that I sent him that song. I'm like, this is the direction that this EP has to be in. Like, think of this song while we're producing the record.
Did
So
that
that was
also,
catalytic.
sorry to cut you, but did that also become the inspiration for you to name the EP Wilderness? Wildflower Wilderness? Was that, is
No,
there
I don't
a
think I
correlation?
had no connection.
Okay.
No, no.
Yes,
Also,
but
Dave mentioned at the end of Wilderness that his grandmother liked wind chimes, so he wanted wind chimes at
mm,
the end. So he put that in the song as well. So that's like another personal touch that we have onto it over there. And yeah, of course, my influences are obviously it's getting stripped down now to more acoustic and more folk based because I'm enjoying that and just want to be myself. I've obviously started on a very different note in school, and then came back to Green Day in college, and then Beatles, and slowly slipping down to acoustic. More Jack Johnson, more Jason Mraz, more John Mayer, maybe all artists from J, I guess. And yeah, so it's in my works now. Even in the next album that I'm putting out, it's more simple, more honest, whatever I'm liking, what the song is supposed to be, and Dave knows that, so it's all in the EP there.
Vernon, are you also based in Bandra, if I may ask? Because I'm not aware.
Oh no, no, no. I was in Mahim, but I'm just moving all about. So right now I'm in Andheri.
Okay. But because mine,
Yeah.
I thought I would phrase a question around, does growing up in a similar environment, like, I'm sure that David would somewhere relate to this, that I think the influence only of the culture, the micro culture that lies in Bandra, where, you have a lot of Catholic families, in the same vicinity. So somewhere, David, does that influence also, come into play when it comes to, inspiring music unto someone?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like at home, there was so much of like the kinds of music I talked about, like the Beatles and Elvis, and even jazz playing. So definitely it does creep in. I'm sure even with Vernon being a fellow
Yeah.
Catholic,
Yeah.
he has a similar story. So yeah, that's how that it definitely does influence. Yes.
Vernon?
And even the right college, I think. If I would have
Mm.
landed up in some other college, I don't know, I must be playing hockey by now, which is not bad, which is good. But I would have not been into music, I guess. So it's just, I think I owe my musical abilities or whatever I'm doing right now is because of the college that I landed up in.
So from college, do you remember that the first brush that you had with the idea of, performing music independently, and an artist you possibly met, along the journey, who sort of, compelled you to come forward and, get involved into the scene and actively, start your musical journey?
I didn't know what is indie music till about I was 20, 21. I was writing songs, but I didn't know you can go and play your songs out there and stuff like that. And I took up some content writing job in between. And there was this guy from Bandra again who introduced me to Nikhil D'Souza and Color Compound. And he said, see, these are the guys who play the kind of music that you write. And you should go and check them out at Blue Frog. So I think that my whole songwriter journey began from there.
And David, you?
Yeah, I was pretty aware of Spud in the Box when I was in school. I think they were a couple of years older than me, so they'd already started playing their college gig and stuff. So they were one of the influences that like bands writing their own songs and performing them. So then that's what I try to do with my old band as well. So yeah, now friends with a couple of those guys from that band, so it's great.
Um, David, of course, while writing music on one side, you also had a very, very eventful stint at one of the country's premier, music magazines that chronicle the lives and the journeys of many artists, not just in India, but across the world also. So somewhere did that experience of, where you wrote, you reviewed, and you had the chance of interviewing a lot of artists, somewhere did that also help you in understanding different artists and their way of working? And of course, a lot of relationships were also built along the way. Somewhere it may have also given you a lot of access also, to a lot of the resources at your disposal right now. So how do you look at how journalism has somewhere contributed to, your artistic journey?
Right. Yeah. So I was playing music before I was a journalist. So in that sense, music has always been first. But yeah, you're right. There's definitely been access to talking to other artists and then building relationships as they go. So that's helped in terms of like I'll give you an example with Basroor. In fact, I was been a fan of his for years, but it was only after I interviewed him that we sort of started talking a bit more, and then when he put out this post in 2020 saying that he'd be open to working with anyone, that's when I reached out to him. So there was already that sort of relationship built when I reached out to him, which made it easier, I feel, for us to work together. And then since then, like he's become like a great friend. So that's definitely, like you said, like so access has definitely helped build relationships, which in turn has helped me sort of get collaborators on board.
Vernon, do you remember the one song or the one composition that you may have worked on, which is I mean, if I have to just take a leaf out of my previous question, one song, not just with David, but with any of the artists that you have worked with in your career so far, that remains as a song that really gave you nightmares in the sense that it really gave you sleepless nights to a certain extent, but also when it finally did play, you were very content with it. It left you very satisfied as an artist.
Um, I think it nothing to do with indie. I think it's just to do with any commercial or ad projects that I've done, because that kind of takes a toll on you. With any kind of indie music or collaborations, you're on the steering wheel, so you can like control and like slow down or whatever. Obviously, when labels are involved and other commercial entities are involved, they push you to get the best out of you. They don't really care about how creative you can be at what time. Like, be creative now. 4 hours. You got 4 hours to be creative. So that's what I don't like, and that pushes me to the brim. So yeah, I think the last Amazon project was like that for one of the Konkani songs that we wrote. Like we were against the wall to produce and write some songs in short on a short notice. But yeah, it was difficult for us to push that in. But as you said, the result was really good when it came out.
So if I have to ask both David and Vernon to, pick out some of their favorite indie acts right now that we must listen to, or we have been snoozing upon, who would they be? Who are your favorites?
I think I'd really like to catch up on.
Anka,
Sorry, Dave, go
Yeah,
first.
please take
no,
it.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. Anika for sure. I mean, I saw her a couple of days ago perform live, and I heard she's working on an album, so that's
Yeah.
exciting. She's definitely one to watch out for. Very talented, and I think she's going to go very far.
I think Dave and me had this opportunity to listen to Rono's tracks months before it's going to be released now, and we heard some scratches and how it's shaping up, and then I was really taken aback by like how simple and that's my kind of sound, very honest and how it's supposed to be as an artist. It's just his soul is just lying in that all those tracks. So I'm just waiting for it to come out and see how it's going to sound like, and all of you should also listen to it.
Anika and Ron are there for everybody.
Yeah.
I have also had the opportunity of speak to other artists where some of them have been of the opinion that we should have more local venues. We should have more promoters who will engage in the kind of music that everybody is making. David, Vernon, since you all have grown up in and since you all have seen the scene up close and person, evolve from where it was to what it is now, especially when I speak about, the venues open up between the Bandra to Andheri belt. Do you feel that somewhere there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of, how these spaces are enabled where they can actually encourage and nurture emerging talents in the city? What are your thoughts?
I think if you look at it from two perspectives, like it's okay to say, okay, there should be more venues and stuff, but also look at it from a venue standpoint or a promoter standpoint. They also make ends meet, so I can understand how difficult it is on both ends. But at this point, I think I've been around the scene for so long now that I'm just happy to be writing and releasing songs. If a gig comes along, okay, I'll take it. That's why in my case, I have a day job, but I'm just happy to write and release music. So for me, it doesn't bother me whether I'm playing or not. Just yeah, it's difficult, man. Like especially in a city like Bombay to have
Yeah.
multiple venues because venues keep coming and going. So while the ones that are there, so reach out to them and perform wherever you can. And from promoter standpoints, I mean, I think people are doing as much as they can do with the resources they have. So it's not fair to just blame them. So it's everyone has to work together, I guess.
So you're saying you're content uh, as long as you're not chasing exposure, like you're content with the way that there's a fair
Oh yeah,
coexistence of both.
yes, 100%.
Vernon?
I mean, I agree with Dave, and Dave's one person I know who's going to gigs a lot more than what I'm going to. So he's the best person to ask this question to because he knows how much indie music is out there and how much of indie music just people want and crave. As for me as a performer, because I started early in 2011-12, even for a new artist for me coming out at that time to play, there were some venues that I could still perform, and venues were still giving opportunities based on like two demos. Like Blue Frog, just send us a demos. Okay, good demo, perform tomorrow or perform next week. It was easier that time. Right now, it's like they'll book you and they'll probably want you to get your audience, or they'll check how much audience can you like pull in, how big is this
Cool.
artist, what's the following like. Yeah, so it was not that back then. It was back then in the sense it's just 2011-12. It's not that old, but the scene has just changed. I think not drastically, but it's just changed. No one wants to take a risk, as David says. Everyone's going safer, but I don't think that's the same with cover music. There's just a scene with everybody playing original music because they just want to see potential in how much crowd that you can pull. So that's okay, that's great, and it's also pushing me to build my audience and just not focus on work, just focus on PR and stuff like that, which eventually just helps us as artists only, nothing else.
So what is more tiring actually, the process of making music or the process of promoting the music?
Oh, definitely the promoting,
Yeah,
which
I agree.
I am very bad at.
All of us are. Unless you have worked at a corporate and then it gets easier, I guess.
Well, this has been very, very fulfilling as a chat with both of you. But before we conclude, David, Vernon, it's been a couple of weeks since Wilderness has been out. So is it very premature to ask what are you guys working upon next? And if you'd like to share anything, like give us a small teaser of what are you guys up to?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's stuff already happening. Working on the full-length Arrows album, which Siddharth Basur is helping produce. 10 songs on the album, so we're chipping at them one at a time. Maybe a 2025 release. I don't know. Let's see. But that's in the works at the moment.
Vernon?
Yeah, Dave's been on a roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I'm working on my next EP, which is Murray. It is like a 6-song EP album, whatever you want to call it. It just has 6 songs on it, and it's in process. as Dave and other few close people know that I take my time, so it's going to take time again. Yeah, but it's there. 6 songs.
Well, as they say, good things always take time, so you must take your time. Well, this has been an extremely fulfilling and an eventful chat. Thank you so much, David, Vernon, for taking the time out to speak to me. And I, once again, congratulations on Wilderness. I hope it finds its, ultimate destination, and it adds a lot of meaning to all the efforts that you guys have taken, all the pain that you all have put yourselves through to make this EP a reality. And for all your musical endeavors ahead, I wish you guys all the luck and success. May the force be with you always. Thank you so much, David and Vernon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Vijay.